Now, on your letters to the editor assignment, which I have posted just this morning. So I've set this to be due by midnight tomorrow. You'll have the rest of the class today to work on it, although at the end I'm going to show you a couple more videos on fallacies, just short ones. The rhetorical triangle, you'll remember, has your, and you looked at some letters to the editor and tried to determine which corner of the triangle they were using. I want you to try to hit all three. And I'm marking it out of 15, and it's 5 points for each corner of the triangle. So language use and arrangement is the rubric I'm using for ethos. Although with the topic that I've given you, you have some personal ethos built in, as well as just the ethos that you gain, so the authorial authority. Apologize for the awkwardness of that phrasing. Your authority is established by your word choice and your fluency, basically how smart you sound, but also because the topic that I've given you is about the school system in Manitoba, and specifically the response to the COVID-19 pandemic of the school system in Manitoba, as well as your particular school, which is dealing with it differently than other schools are. So you have some, as a student right now, and for the last 12 years, you have some built-in ethos for this subject. So you don't need to, well, you don't establish your ethos only by sounding smart. You establish your ethos by stressing your qualifications as somebody who is living this now and has lived this system for the last 12 years. And so you are particularly well qualified to comment on it. Does that kind of make sense? So I've given you a topic that you all have automatic ethos in. The pathos and the logos are up to you, using your logic and emotional appeals. So the responding personally and critically is going to be your mark for incorporating pathos into your letter. And the exploring ideas part of the rubric is going to be your mark for incorporating logos into your letter. So I'm not providing or suggesting any conclusions to your letter. I'm saying that you are going to write a letter to the editor which details your opinion about this current situation, I guess, and whatever solutions you have, whatever kudos you want to give to the school or the province or whatever complaints you want to make about the school or the province or whatever, that is all up to you. But you certainly can't say that you have nothing to write about. So let's look at the assignment sheet itself. So letter to the editor is different from an editorial in that the ones that I gave you for examples were very, very short. They were like one paragraphers, right? So, and that was just for you to get a sense for the different types of, or the different corners of the rhetorical triangle. So in writing a letter to the editor, you don't have to be impersonal, right? You don't have to write it like an essay. You're writing a personal letter. So you can be as, you can use all the personal pronouns that you want. I and me and myself and so on. You can, you're persuading now personally rather than impersonally. The formal language that you had to use for the editorial is not so important for the letter to the editor. Now, obviously, you still need to use regular conventions of English language, capitalization and punctuation and all that. But it doesn't have to be so formal. And you can, use exclamation points and use rhetorical questions, both of which are not very good in formal writing. You can use sentence fragments if you do so intentionally for effect, all of that sort of stuff that is in more personal writing. So I gave you a limit of, I want to say, 250 words, something like that. Well, I'll get to that. The purposes for writing a letter can be either to pass along some information that you have or attempt to persuade readers to think a certain way. So this is going to be probably some combination of both. You have, or you should have, personal feelings about the way that school is working this year, and that is what you're attempting to share with the reader. Incidentally, if you want to send these in to a newspaper afterwards, you're obviously welcome to do so. You're getting something off your chest because you want to. You want others to know what your experience is like right now, what you think and why you think it. The phrasing of this, so the part in bold here is added for this year's assignment because we're in the COVID year right now. What about the response of schools, division, and provincial government to the COVID-19 pandemic? Do you agree with the priorities of your school as you understand them, the priorities of the government, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? How are things working? How should things be working? Why do you think that? And you can, address any other aspect of public education in Manitoba that you want to as well. So maximum 250 words. That might seem like a lot, but you will notice that if you can read this here, this is 400 words. Just my little assignment sheet here is 402 words. So I'm not even asking you to write as much as I wrote to ask you to write. If that makes sense. So it's not actually that much. Questions on that? All right, give her.